So seeing as I'm stuck at home for the next foreseeable future, at least the next 3 or 4 weeks or so, I want to go ahead and update all the gear reviews that I've been meaning to do over the last month or so. Today I'm going to talk to you guys all about my lighting system that I use for weddings. This system is going to be good enough for anybody from events down from 20 people all the way up to say maybe 200 or 300 people. So when you're talking about flash systems, you have a few options for Sony. Sony obviously have their native system, which you can buy, the Sony branded ones. I've tried them out and they seem to be really good, but they are a little bit expensive and they might not do the job for everybody. So I'm using the Godox system. There's a few parts to it. I've upgraded things over the years. Originally, I was just using the X1T trigger, which is very similar to this guy, the X2T, which I'll get into soon. And I think I had 2 or 3 TT685S flashes. Now I'm using one on-camera light, and I also have 2 off-camera lights with some new triggers and attachments. So let's jump into those first, starting with the triggers. So a really common question I get when I'm talking about my Godox flashes is why I'm not using the X Pro trigger. So you would think Pro means it's the best and whatever. So I had the X1T trigger, and then the X Pro trigger came out, and I did buy it. So I have it here. I'm just using it as my backup one. So the main reason I prefer the X2T trigger over the X Pro one is mainly just the firing. So with the X2T, I get no misfires whatsoever. It's extremely reliable, if not more reliable than the Sony flashes and the Sony trigger I've used in the past. The Sony ones are really good, but the X2T, I don't remember one time that I've missed a shot or, it's not been firing or playing up or anything like that. The X Pro trigger is pretty good. I don't get many miss shots. I get less miss shots with this than I was getting with my X1T, but I do get the odd misfire here and there, and a few times it's been a really important one where I've really wanted the flash to fire and it hasn't worked. Say if you're getting a hug after a speech or a cool moment in the dancing, I found the X Pro trigger does misfire a little bit. If you guys aren't finding that, then drop a comment below and let me know. But this personal unit that I have, and I've tried another one, I did get it replaced. The reason I got it replaced was the on and off switch became faulty and the clickiness wasn't there, it wasn't holding. So every time I pulled it out of my bag, the trigger was on and the battery was draining much faster than it would have been otherwise. I do prefer the design of the X Pro trigger. I really like the big display and the function buttons down the side to quickly choose your channel or group that you want to change your flash power on. But honestly, I find the X2T trigger just as easy to change with the buttons along the side. The display is big enough and bright enough, and the dial is really easy to change the flash power. With the old X1 trigger, the dial was on the other side, and you kind of had to use your camera hand to take it off and adjust the flash power that way. So this one is a much better design, and I feel like it's the best. It has the best of both worlds. So it has all the function buttons down like the X Pro trigger. Another difference with the X2T trigger is it does have the hot shoe, so you can mount a flash on top of it. It's not something I would do, and I don't know if you would want to do that. It seems like it would be a little bit dodgy having something hang off like that, but it's there, and it does mean you can put an LED light on there or something like that, or another accessory if you need to stack something up. It's not something I'm using personally, like I said, but if it's something you need, it's on the X2T trigger. The other thing I really like about the X2T trigger is I'm not sure what they've changed in the circuitry or anything like that, but it now shows an accurate battery reading when you're using rechargeable batteries. The X Pro trigger, it always seems to be on 1 bar, no matter if your batteries are fully charged or not. Doesn't really matter because they last easily a whole day. It's not the end of the world, but it's just nice knowing what your battery situation is with the triggers. And if I get any questions about what batteries I'm just using the Inloop Pro Panasonic black batteries. They seem to last the longest out of any battery that I've tried in the market. So that's the triggers I'm using. I do still use the X Pro trigger if I'm using 2 cameras and I want to be able to fire the same lights off with each camera. But most of the time I'm just using one with the X2T. Now the main on-camera flash I'm using is the Godox V1S. This is the big bad boy with the lithium-ion battery and the round circle face on it. Honestly, the battery on this, I can probably do 3 or 4 wedding receptions with it and not have to charge it. It lasts for such a long time, and it's just a really, really fantastic battery. Recycle times are really fast, and at full power it has a really, really small recycle time. So I've never found that I needed full power in times that I'm using it, but if you're trying to do a shoot outside and kind of overpower the sun or something like that, then you're going to need something more powerful than your everyday speed light, and this is a really good one. It's also small enough to have on the Sony cameras without feeling like it's too top heavy. So not too big. It is bigger than your average speed light, obviously, but you know, it's comfortable enough to hold with a smaller body camera. The other thing with the V1S is it has the same locking function as the X2T trigger. I'm not sure again if that makes any difference. I can't see why, because the actual hot shoe itself seems to be the same as all the other flashes out there, all the other Godox ones anyway, but it just seems to be more reliable. So these new generation flashes, maybe it's the circuitry in them, but they're very, very reliable, and I don't get any misfires with the Godox V1 either. The controls on the back of it are really easy to manage, and it's quite a basic flash, but you can control all my other flashes with this one. So we're going to get into those ones in a minute, but this can act as a remote as well, so you can be bouncing light off the ceiling, or you know, have it, usually I'll have it about 45 degrees behind me and 45 degrees up just to bounce the light if there's sort of anything to bounce off. But that can be my fill light, and then I can fire off my other lights with this one at the same time, so sometimes I don't even need to use the trigger, which is nice. One thing I will say with the Godox flashes, and it seems to be only a Sony issue, is the infrared light that comes out, you know, the focus tracking light doesn't seem to work in any mode that I've had it on. I haven't been able to get it working. If you guys know how, drop a comment below. But if you're buying a Godox light, just assume the red focus beam isn't going to work with your Sony camera. The other thing I really like about this V1S trigger is I can use it for an LED light on the dance floor. You can actually press one of the buttons on the back and activate an LED light, and it's actually quite bright. It's bright enough, that's at its lowest power, and you can go all the way up to 10, which makes it really, really bright. So it just has a little LED here, and it allows you to sort of, if you're doing video and photo at the same time, it just allows you to video people on the dance floor and light everything up to get some cool effects. So something to bear in mind there. It's quite bright, as you can see. So getting into the newest additions into my lighting family is the Godox AD200. So I actually bought two of these. I didn't really want to spend the money. I wasn't going to. I was just going to buy one, but I thought I may as well just buy two of them and get it over and done with. The reason I bought these is because increasingly at weddings I go to, venues just have terrible, terrible lighting, and more than being dark, because I don't mind raising my ISO with the Sony cameras, but they're just a really, really bad color. I've noticed DJs or venues themselves have either really purple, horrible lights and just making the skin look terrible. And setting these up just makes it much, much easier to get a real even lighting, and you don't have to be even worried about what lighting situation the venues have set up for you. So with the AD200s, I'm generally just having one in opposite corners of the room, so one pointed at the bridal table, and then one usually behind the bridal table pointed at all the guests, maybe pointed up a little bit. They're very, very powerful, and you can easily flood a room with light. I'm finding usually I'm on about 1/8 to 1/4 max if it's a really big room. If you're from New Zealand and you've shot at the Auckland Museum, you know that big room up the top, you can get about 400, 500, maybe even 600 guests in that room, and these easily fill that up at quarter power. So generally speaking, I'm on about 1/8 power in a normal venue, and they just fire away constantly without any misfires. They connect beautifully to all the other stuff, and it's just a really good way to get more dramatic and more even lighting without worrying about different colors. The battery on them lasts for quite a long time, so I've only shot 3 wedding receptions with these, so maybe 3 hours each wedding reception, and the battery's still on half with each of them, so I haven't charged them. So the other accessory I got with the AD200s was the barn door kit, and that comes with the grill, so you can direct light more focused onto your subjects. And they also come with the colored gels, so they have a blue, green, red, maybe a yellow one there, and they have magnets and they just stick in there really, really easily. They are quite strong. I would like some different gels, so maybe some half-strength ones, like a half or a quarter orange gel would be good, just to counteract the really warm light in a lot of wedding receptions. So they just click in onto the front like that, and then you can just focus the beam to wherever you want, or open it right up, either way. But it's a really good accessory, and it wasn't too expensive. Another accessory I have that goes well with the Godox V1 is this little ball mount hot shoe adapter here. It has an umbrella in there as well if you want to use it at home for like studio lighting or something. But that just allows me to put the V1 on a light stand as well. So then if I want, I can have up to 3 lights around the reception and just using my Godox trigger to fire them all off if I don't want to use any kind of bounce lighting or anything like that. And one other thing I got with the Godox AD200s was this Bowen's bracket. So it just allows me to put a softbox on there if I want to do any kind of studio work or anything like that. So I brought 2 of these. You can see my other video I done a little while back. just shooting some portraits of my daughter with these, and that's all I was using, with softboxes mounted on here, the Bowens mount ones, so really handy as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's my Godox lighting kit. That's what I would recommend you using. It's not the cheapest option available, but it's a very, very reliable option. It's well priced for what you get. The build quality is really nice. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'm just going to be banging through all these gear reviews as we go through the next coming weeks. Thanks for following along my channel. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video coming up soon.